He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Luca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Luca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
I'm freaking out, man.
You can't handle the truth.
Here we go, back the second hour. Love, Guns, and Freedom, 1340 a.m. on GMN Network. Luca Zanna and Mike Haywood. How are you, Mike?
Good.
Okay, we got second hour packed with great information. We have a great guest right now on hold. And it's going to be very interesting because we will talk about, first of all, about training, the needs of training. As the gun owners, I think it's our duty to be responsible. And you can have a gun, of course, but I think a gun without training is kind of almost a liability, in my opinion. So it's our duty to try to learn as much as we can. And I think Cop Reynolds, yes, a great opportunity here. It's not just gun owners, but also is a firearm instructor and much more. Let me get them all right now. One sec. Hey, Cop, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Cop. How are you?
Luca, I'm doing well today. How are you doing?
Very good. Very excited to have you here, me and Mike, because the mission of this show, it is not to entertain, but I would like to find solutions and, more important, find especially preparation for what we can do as Americans to try to, of course, we can not control everything. Of course, I wish we would control what's happening right now at federal level or state level, but sometimes we are just humans, that's what we are, and we can control at least our own lives in our own environment, you know, like, for example, our family, our homes. And I believe more than ever, besides that it's a right, the gun, the Second Amendment, it's a God-given right, is also an opportunity to have a tool as to defend our family, especially now. I believe that we are facing great turmoils because of many factors, socioeconomic factors, and these illegal invasion factors. More than ever, we need to be trained to be law-abiding citizens, ready to defend our life, innocent lives, and freedom, of course. So let's talk a little bit, first of all, about you, because I know you have a lot of great background. Tell us a little bit about who you are, Mr. Cop Reynolds.
Well, Lucas, first, let me thank you for inviting me on here, and thank you for everything that you do for American rights and freedom and all the effort that you put into it. I think you're a great American. I'll have to tell you that some of the greatest Americans I've ever met are immigrants, legal immigrants, Americans. They seem to put a lot of passion into it, where some of the rest of us seem to take it for granted. I think that's probably the root cause of a lot of the problems that we're having today. But as far as myself, I was born and raised on a ranch in northern New Mexico, and I've been messing with guns my entire life. I don't ever remember not having a gun in my hand. I killed my first deer when I was 9 years old, and I got into a lot of different sports, shooting sports, for quite a few years. And then around 1992, some events happened in my life that made me look at the importance of training and self-defense and actually carrying a gun on you all the time. So I pretty much dedicated my life at that point to training myself, and then after a while got to where I was training others, and then got into it professionally and opened up a couple of different shooting schools. And it is very much my life. It's what I live. It's what I do every day. It's not anything that I do on weekends to train people and then go do. I do what I teach every single day of my life. My wife is the same, and everybody that works for us is the same.
Perfect, Cop. And just to let you know, you're located in Sholo, Arizona, correct?
I live near Sholo, yeah, and then there's Shots Ranch where I work is on out towards Kingman.
Okay, perfect. So you are, just to let you know, because I know you're in different aspects. First of all, yes, you are a firearm instructor and you're a Second Amendment supporter, and also you are, in my opinion, it's a civil rights activist. You know, you were there at the Bundys, and you believe in state sovereignty and other terrible things that our federal government right now probably are painting us as domestic terrorists. And we'll talk about that too. But let's talk first of all about the firearms instructor and also training. As I said before, you know, a gun is just an object, and like a hammer, can be used for good, can be used for bad. But without training, first of all, I said without heart. You know, I think the most important thing, we must have a heart. We must have the good heart, and as a human being, to understand that we are people that we're supposed to at least use everything with responsibility. And the gun, especially, it is a tool to defend life. That's the way I look at that, and defend freedom. So, first of all, you must have a good heart. You must have the good moral inside. And then, of course, you must have good trainings, because even if you have a good moral and you wish well, if you have no training, it can be dangerous, can be a liability also, and also can be very risky for your life and somebody else. So that's where you come in. I know right now that you are the operations manager for the Southwest Shooting Authority, called also SHOTS. And the website is shotsranch.com. Tell us a little bit about this great facility, because I'm very excited. Is this in Mojave County, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's about 40 miles east of Kingman. At exit 91, you go up north of Interstate 40. They're about 5 miles. We're back up in the hills, 1,200 acres.
Wow,
of
1,200 acres.
Nothing but firearms training. We have a few things that a lot of other places don't have. But let me talk about training first.
Yes.
I think I wish we didn't have to legislate common sense. You know, we constitutionally, we should not have to not be able to mandate training to carry a gun.
Yes.
But over the years, we have gotten to where the people that are now looking to carry guns, I'm not sure what the answer is between, I don't want to have to legislate it, but we want to offer it at to make it appealing enough to make them understand the importance of it. Every single day, Luca, we find someone that has killed their baby, shot their husband, done something because of stupid accidents that are 100% preventable.
Exactly.
These are people that have been shooting for, 5, 10, 20, 50 years. I know a man in Farmington, New Mexico, shot himself in the leg trying to pull a small .32 pistol out of his pocket.
Wow.
Shot himself in the femoral artery and bled out while he heard the sirens coming up to his house.
Wow.
This is a man that had been shooting for 70 years.
And I can say something.
But he had not been formally trained.
Exactly. And
I think there's a big difference between experience and training.
Exactly. And I agree with you. My opinion, first of all, it's an individual right. And as an individual right, there is also an individual liability. And everybody is responsible for their own actions. Of course, you don't want to, you can shoot your own leg, and the problem when you start to, by accident, shoot at somebody else, okay? I don't believe it should be legislated, otherwise it would be the government to have an overreach power to create pretty much who can have it or not. But as a human beings, as an American, we understand that with freedom comes responsibility. I think it's your duty, moral duty. I'm not talking about legal duty or lawful duty. It's your moral duty. If you have a weapon, first of all, don't be a jerk. You don't know it all. There is always somebody that thinks he knows it all. I never think I know enough. And I think there's always a way to learn more. But the basics, you should have find a way to go through training, at least some basic safety training, that gives you the opportunity to be a law-abiding citizen, carrying a weapon responsibly, and also be sure that if you need a weapon one day, you're going to be able to try to perform as best of your ability. So that's why Shots Ranch, I'm here. By the way, I'm not getting paid by Shots Ranch. I want just to let you know, I try to invite schools and training facilities here on the show, because my goal is to give you information, listeners, to find places like this, especially if you live in northwest Arizona. I think it's a great opportunity for this show to give you this opportunity and try to find a way that you can learn the basics. So what exactly, tell me about the different classes that you offer at Shots Ranch.
Well, we've got probably 30-some different classes right now. We've got, I think, 7 different levels of handgun classes, everywhere from from basic concealed carry to 4 or 5 different levels of defensive handguns. You have 2 or 3 of them pretty dynamic classes. We have a long-range handgun class where we have people shooting service-style handguns out to 200 yards.
I saw you, by the way, sorry to interrupt you. I saw you, there's a nice YouTube of yourself. You were shooting a Glock 40 cal and a Glock 9mm at 300 yards. Am I right?
Yes, sir, 300.
That was a nice video, by the way. Yeah, people must understand that. First of all, I like that video for 2 purposes. First of all, if in the right hands, with the right training, handgun, of course, is supposed to be for close combat situation, but you can accomplish much more than just a close combat situation. If you can hit a target 300 yards, wow, that's a rifle distance. But also the liability. When you shoot a handgun, a bullet in the air, think about how much power even just a 9mm has, and you can really must be understanding that the handgun, it is not just something that you think, okay, 50 yards is going to be over. No, it keeps going and going and going. So that was a great video. By the way, I would like to upload it on lovegunsfreedom.com, where I have also put your photo and the link for a shot range. I will also put a YouTube there so they can see you shooting at this great distance, by the way. Please keep going
Thank you, sir.
Keep going with the training classes that you have.
You know, just a quick mention of that long-range handgun. Who's to say that you're not out camping with your family and you go off over here in the creek to catch a fish, or you go out behind the bush to use the bathroom, you come back and you're 75 or 100 yards away, and you find that some illegal immigrants or dope dealers or whatever the case may be is at your campsite. So you have 2 choices. You sit down on a rock and wait for somebody to come help, or you employ your handgun, because that's probably all you have with you. Your handgun is your primary weapon all the time, because it's the one that you wear every waking moment of your life. Unless you have a rifle in your hands, your handgun is your primary weapon.
Exactly. And normally I always say, I have a handgun to fight my way to the rifle, because I really understand the handgun has some limitations, but also the great benefit of the handgun, as you were saying, I can always carry with me everywhere I go. That's why normally the rifle is a little more difficult. It's on my truck or my home. So I think that's very good class. I like to do that, by the way. I've never done something like long distance with a handgun. It would be very exciting. And they can see the schedule of the classes, I guess, on the website right now. Do you have any classes coming the next couple of weeks or next month that you're aware?
Well, what we have right now, what we're doing for teachers, public school teachers, we're offering free concealed weapons training. It's an 8-hour class. It's typically $195.
Wow.
But we're offering it free to school teachers for the rest of this summer. They have to be these type of school personnel that interact immediately with the children, like janitors, cafeteria workers, principals, school nurse, teachers, those that are in touch with the kids all day, not the superintendent that's in an office across town somewhere.
What about the bus drivers?
And we're offering that free to try to show people. We know that they can't carry guns in schools in most states, but we want them to have the information, the knowledge that they can take back to their colleagues and say, look, it's not like that at all. Here's what I learned at Schatz Ranch. We need to get to our legislators and insist that if we are not able to at least carry guns, that we have armed guards in the school. And, the best thing would be to have armed, trained, educated teachers. Second best thing would be to have armed guards.
Exactly. And Mike was saying here, go ahead, Mike.
What about the bus drivers? The school bus drivers?
Yeah, bus driver. I wouldn't have any problem with bus drivers. I didn't think about that, but you bet.
Hey,
yeah,
Mike,
there has been a couple of instances through history that where something has happened to on a school bus. Yeah,
exactly. Mike, you're a bus driver, right?
That's one of my jobs. Yeah.
Wow, maybe you should do that, man. Yeah. That's great. I'm
really
really.
on that.
This is a great. By the way, I like this. This is a great service to the community. I really think it's important, and I agree with you. There are, first of all, 2 aspects. Even if you're not allowed to carry a weapon, unfortunately, on campuses or on school facilities, thanks to them was most of Mr. Clinton at the time. Remember when he did this sort of 1,000 feet or whatever? Only criminals can come to the schools and have the gun-free zone, so everybody dies. I mean, while you wait for help.
How stupid is that?
Yes, but that was part of the plan. They needed to pretty much find a way to cut a little bit of the time, areas. Think how many millions of schools we have, or thousands of schools we have around the states. If every school, especially in states unfriendly with the Second Amendment, you have pretty much you're going to be arrested if they find you in 1,000 yard, 1,000 yard, no, excuse me, 1,000 feet. What is
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet from the school. If they pull you over, in some state, you're going to arrest you. You're going to have problems.
Well, these schools are locked down too. The one I work at, it's fenced in, locked up. And if something happens inside that
You're
fence,
trapped.
You're trapped, and there's nobody carrying to protect these kids.
Yeah, and that's my point. Not only, first of all, let's say it would be nice if one day our teachers with appropriate training, they would be able to have access to a gun. Because remember, and I don't care how the police, they're going to be fast. They're not going to be too late, okay? Especially now they have to wait for the feds, because pretty much seems like everything after the feds come with the SWAT teams, the pro. Meanwhile, you're all dead. But more important, let's say even if you don't have a weapon, I heard stories when I was doing another class, another school, that there was a teacher, okay, a kid bring a gun to school, and the gun was loaded. Unfortunately, they removed the magazine. They forgot there was a round in the chamber, because they don't even know what is a round in the chamber. They thought just the magazine, like in the movies, that's it. Guess what? Somebody died that day. And the teacher lost her job. She was depressed. All they needed to know the basics of safety.
Exactly.
That would be it's such a great. I really applaud you for this opportunity you're giving to the teachers, and please, maybe I should like to go to the class to see one time. If you can invite me, I like to go there, little interviews to teachers, or even just do a little YouTube. I think it would be a great service, especially for people living in this part of the tri-state area, to be there and get free training. Great.
Well, we have the full class coming up here on it's not very full. I think we have 2 spots left in it, but coming up on the 21st.
Okay.
And what we've done in addition to that, like I said earlier, I don't think we should legislate training, but I want to try to make it appealing enough to them that they will actually take it. So once they take the concealed carry class, we spend a lot of time on safety, and I show them some very graphic pictures, things, from stupid accidents and whatnot. So the next day, on the 22nd, we're offering Personal Defense Handgun 1, which is our basic defensive handgun class, and we're offering it for everybody that takes that concealed weapons class on the 21st. Whether they paid for it or not doesn't matter.
Wow.
They'll get 20% off on the Personal Defense Handgun 1 on the next day. We want to make this appealing to people and have them get their feet wet and see what it's all about.
And just to have an idea, what is the average cost for one of these classes? Like, for example, the one you were talking, the concealed weapon class.
The concealed class is normally $195, and we serve lunch with that. We're not going to on the free one, but normally we do. And then on the most of our one-day classes are $250. Most of the 2-day class ones are $500. And in the 3-day classes, it varies on what we're doing. They get several different ones. So.
Okay, just I would like to say something to the listeners, because a few years ago, I had a chance to start to train professionally, at least with professional help. And before that, I was part of the average gun owners that has a lot of guns, and they read all these magazines and listen to the shows and get all excited. And at night, you got your different guns on your on your table, and you say, okay, I'm ready. Ready for what? The point is, if you don't invest, sometimes it's better to sell 1 or 2 guns, but to have knowledge that is going to be with you forever. And if you really think that you know it all, it's the moment that you don't know anything. Because I tell you, even after training from different opportunities I have, I realize there is always something to learn. But under stress, when you're under adrenaline and you're feeling really that this is not a movie, it's real, it's happening, you're not going to perform at your best. You're going to go at least 50% less than normally you are. And there is no more time to think. If you don't have a training set in you, ingrained in you, you're going to be completely panicking. Now, think about $250 you can put on the table, and then you can put on the other side your life or your family life. That is worth it. Or even worse. I don't know if it's worse, but think about liability. Think about you were holding this weapon, and because your ignorance, and I'm not trying to say this in a bad way, ignorance means you don't know, and you harm somebody. How much is going to cost you lawyers and to defend yourself? More important, morally, do you need to live the rest of your life because your ignorance and your some sort of arrogance? Because I can live with ignorance. Ignorance can be fixed. You can come to a place with open your heart, open your ears. We learn. I am a sponge. I'm always, everywhere I go, I try to learn as much as I can. But when I have people in front of me that are arrogance, that's dangerous. Because I can understand arrogance at sports or, other things that are not dangerous. Like we talk about things that can be just, some sort of just for the sake of conversation. And when we talk about weapons, I don't not allow arrogance, because that can be very dangerous composition. Ignorance and arrogance is very scary. So please, as you said, we gotta find a way to try to make this affordable. I think these are really affordable, because if you look out a couple $100 after you spend maybe already $1,000 for a rifle, $500 for a gun, I mean, come on, this knowledge is gonna stay with you the rest of your life. And also you can share with other people. Think how much value also you have. So I think it's very reasonable, and I hope people can go to shotsranch.com, check it out. And by the way, there are not many other places really so close in Mojave County. That is the only place I know.
I got a question as far as the teachers. Do they have to supply their own weapon?
We will have a few rental guns available, but typically, yeah, they'll furnish their own weapon, their own ammo. They need to bring in whatever they're going to carry and 50 rounds of ammo. If they don't have anything, we have some rental guns.
Okay, thank you.
That they can use for that.
Okay, perfect. So listen, Cope, another thing I would like to talk to you, about training. I think it's a great opportunity. Let's talk also about state of the affair, because right now, unfortunately, people like us, just because we believe in freedom, just because we believe in responsible gun ownership, just because we believe in a constitution, and this is republic, this is not a socialist dictatorship, we are considered, unfortunately, domestic terrorists. This is nothing new. It didn't happen just now with Obama. It started with Bush. Of course, now we are going to a new level of enforcing all this. And there is just one thing I would like to specify, because I'm very, not upset, but very disappointed, especially people that I respect, or at least as friends, I consider friends. Now, did you hear about this Las Vegas shooting of these two supposed to be allegedly white supremacists that they killed these two police officers? Did you hear about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And don't get me wrong, there are crazy people everywhere. There are people that unfortunately are unstable. People have extreme view, and that's fine. It's part of life. Unfortunately, there is in the left, there is in the right. There is also a car accident that just happened probably last night. We had DUI. I mean, should we ban beer and wine today because last night maybe somebody had a DUI and crashed in somebody else's car? Or should we ban cars just because guilty by association? Probably last night in America we had thousands of car crashes. I mean, think about it. Now, what I really disgusted, and I really say this with sadness, there is a very silly post. They're not silly, but I think they are very dangerous, because that's what they set up for the creation of coming after us. For example, now there is this post on Facebook that shows like the Gadsden flag. That, by the way, is a patriotic flag. People need to learn a little bit about the history of the Gadsden flag, but that's another place, where pretty much says that these colors, this flag is for cowards, that they shoot police in the back. This is, sometimes I don't think if it's worth my time to discuss it, because I think it's so, almost so level. I mean, like a child wouldn't do that. But if I want to really use this logic, that is very dangerous logic, by the way, this is how Hitler decided to create a sort of a danger zone for all the dissidents. They try first of all to make fun of them, and then they try to single them, like there was the communists, or they were the Jews, or they were the people with the different type of opinions. This is happening right now, and what I'm scared is not about the government doing what they're doing. I already know that. When I have fellow Americans really believe in this stuff, I mean, this is sad. What is your opinion about what happened there, first of all, in Las Vegas with those two people that shot the cops? What is your opinion? What is your take?
Well, there's two ways to look at this, Luca. And the one, looking at it from a common sense standpoint, they were Looney Tunes out there. But a valid point here, one of the things that they said is the revolution has started, or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. And then on the report, they talked about the fear of copycat attacks. I think what they'll see is not necessarily, quote unquote copycat attacks, but I think that there are people around this nation that are frustrated, fed up, tired of all of this, and there probably will be other attacks. Not that they're copycat of this, but they'll be doing it for the same reason. They'll call it copycat attacks. The other thing is that it was orchestrated, and it was done to promote an agenda, and I think that's a strong possibility. A lot of people don't look at things that way, but I think we need to look at every every conceivable possibility right as to how come some of these things are happening.
I agree. And by the way, Cope, I have a very open-minded. I always try to base things on facts. At the same time, we must have an open mind. I mean, let's not forget the word false flag. It is not just a word. And I'm not saying this was a false flag. I have no proofs, okay? All I know, though, that we need to look at the old aspects. First of all, let's see if somebody really wants to create, let's not forget the 60s, okay, during the civil movements, okay, civil rights movement. It's proven the FBI to try to put down and to some sort of a shutdown Martin Luther King and people like him. They used to have this group called CONTOINTELPRO. And this is declassified documents out of the Congress, okay? And their job was to create some sort of infiltration in the movement of the civil rights and to create discredit, to use violence, to use things that weren't part of their goal. So with the media, remember the media, unfortunately, they are no more free media. They are pretty much controlled by the government or the corporations, who is behind. They can pretty much manipulate the public opinion. So this is a fact, okay? I'm not trying to talk about conspiracy. The CONTOINTELPRO, please, listeners, go there and check it out. Now, specifically here, I don't have enough information to say anything on another one. All I can say, though, what I really find disturbing, and this is a fact, to generalize, to collectively guilty by association, just because now this individual, I call them scumbags because I have no respect for anybody using violence unless for self-defense or the innocence of yourself or for your freedom. This is not about anything of that. This is just somebody that have an agenda of pure evil, killing two innocent cops. At least they were there, minding their business. It wasn't any type of act of violence in no halfway. This was really coward evil. Now, there is no excuse. And now there's only thing I'm very disappointed when other people, other Americans, try to make us guilty by association just because, for example, these people left a Gadsden flag. I mean, I have my Gadsden symbol tattoo on my shoulder. Now, should I go to jail because of that? Should I be stopped at the next police station? Or what should I do? This is amazing. I mean, let's say tomorrow, I want to use this logic. I said today, I posted on my Facebook page, in the last 150 years, and this is not a conspiracy, most of these shootings, starting with President Lincoln, they were all made by Democrats. I'm never going to say, Democrats, according to the records here, since you shoot so many public shootings here, you should never have a gun. This is very terrible, dangerous mindset. We're all responsible for our own actions, and we should never be put under the same type of collectivist responsibility. So I agree. There is something that we don't know about this Las Vegas. By the way, you were also at the Bundys. I know that, right?
Yes, sir. I went up there.
Tell us about your experience. Why did you go there? What did you find there? What is your brief experience out of that going there?
Well, the Bundy family and a lot of the protesters up there were in danger. So a group of my friends and I went up there, and when we found out,
I'm losing you. Are you on the cell phone?
I'm sorry. No, I'm on Skype.
Okay, let's try to get you better. Go ahead.
Okay. It was, for the most part, the way it started out, it was relatively well organized, and everything was going pretty well. The protesters were all being civil for the most part. There was a few of them there that could have minded their manners a little better. But as time went on, what we found out was that the militia was, as we found out through many exercises, was very disorganized. We have a little bit of problem with everybody wanting to be the general, everybody wanting to take charge, and there needs to be a national coalition that would be agreed upon by the leaders of various groups around the country, and they need to have organization that will not fall apart in the face of danger, in the face of a conflict of some kind. And I think that was the single biggest thing that I saw. Other than that, it was an awesome experience. I really enjoyed being up there, met a hell of a lot of good people. And I've got some great pictures from up there. Lots and lots of people in there on that. And I think we'll see more of those, and probably in the next few months. There's things going on the border down in Brownsville, Texas, that may have some militia going on. There's some things going on in Kansas. There's another deal going on similar to the Bundy situation in Nevada. There's problems in Texas with BLM, and it's rampant. It's out of control.
And I would like to remind this to the listeners that may think we're a bunch of crazy people. I mean, first of all, do you realize that this is not about cows? This is not about the band. This is about our liberties at stake. For example,
exactly.
We have a man in the White House just a couple of weeks ago. He woke up, he had some paper and ink, and he started to decide that 500,000 acres, where real human beings, real families with little farms, little homes, been living there for maybe many years, 500,000 acres, just because the man, by executive order, decided that it was the right thing to do, and he think he has the power. I think he does at this point, since nobody's complaining in Congress. He created an area completely under the federal control. It's pretty much going to be like an area that no human beings really can thrive or do anything. It's called wild refuge or whatever it's called. It's pretty much an implementation of Agenda 21. Why not 2 million acres? Why not half of America? If he can do half million acres today and nobody say anything. Think about now, you, regular American, that you think we are talking about crazy things here. If your father or your mother or yourself or your son wanted to have a little bit of piece of freedom, little bit of piece of land, able to raise a family, to grow your own food, maybe to have a little well, just to enjoy life as a free human beings. That now is not going to be happening anymore. Because I tell you, when you live in that special area, sooner or later you will see, like happened at the Bundys for the cows and the raising fees, all this stuff. It's going to happen now to you, to the control of your water, how much dust you can move. You have to watch for the jumping rats. If you don't kill them, if you come to jump in your
kangaroo rats,
whatever. The point is an excuse, guys. Please understand, this is not about anymore a specific group. It's about that there is a plan. It wasn't just Obama. It started way before. And technically, I can give you also the name. Bush father is the one that signed the treaty of the Agenda 21. Okay? So it's an implementation. Now, pretty much they want to deprive us of our rights of property and control of the resources. So I say there must be a solution, because that's why I think people like you are part of the solution, Mr. Cop Reynolds. Because first of all, education, we must understand that there is a problem. This Agenda 21 is not just a conspiracy, it's a fact. Our state legislators in Arizona, they're trying to fight it. Of course, Governor Brewer put it down, but still, we're trying to do our best. Our counties, they understand it, most of them. Now, as free human beings, as Americans, and more important now, as Arizonan, I have the duty to prepare to stop this happening. Because I tell you something, I'm a peaceful man. I never even go in fist fight. I try to avoid. As a gun owner, I try to be some more responsible than the average person. But there is a point that I draw the line in the sand. When I see somebody trying to enslave me and my fellow Americans, there is a point I say no. Like we did at the Bundys. That's why I like the Bundys. There's a model. All we had to say was no and show up. We don't advocate violence. They were the one pointing rifles at us for first.
Right.
If somebody else, I tell you, they're lucky that we are not on the streets, because you know very well, as a lawful gun owners in the state of Arizona, and correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody pointed a gun at you, you don't need to wait for the permit from the governor to shoot back, right? Yeah. You have the right to stop.
Right.
That's enough probable reason to say, I must defend my life. We were all I was very pleased to see that people had the chance to keep things cool. Even when rifles that were pointed at us, unarmed Americans were unarmed on the line. At least most of us were kids and women and regular people and cowboys. Nobody brought violence.
Somebody told me, an ex-cop told me, that it's illegal to point a gun at a law enforcement officer no matter what. Is that true? Even if they train one on you first?
Well, each state is different, but you have the right to defend yourself. If that law enforcement, what he is doing is unlawful and you fear for your life, you have the right to protect yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to, just because he's wearing a uniform, you don't have to stand there and get shot because it's illegal. I mean, who's going to do that anyway? I mean, who really cares if it's illegal?
That's true.
If you have your choice, you're going to stand there and get shot because you're not going to shoot back because it's illegal?
No.
or are you going to defend yourself and take your chances in court afterwards?
That's what I would do.
Exactly. And let's talk about exactly, the preparation, the solution. First of all, we must understand the problem. Second of all, we must train to try to find a way as a citizen and the residents of our county, I believe a lot in the county and neighbors, to prepare. Let's say, for example, tomorrow, Cop Reynolds, you have, I know you live in rural America. Let's say you have a well, and like myself, and I have also some property close to you. And let's say tomorrow the county decides, because according to the state or some sort of international order of new code enforcement, our well must be subject to meter, because slaves, don't forget, do not really own their water. So that's just a typical example, because I'm telling you, there are many other things we can talk. If you have now cattle or little animals, chickens, whatever, in Texas right now they already have a mandatory ID chip, okay? So let's say examples, or they want just to take your land because they said that there's a jumping rat, you gotta move your stuff back and get a couple of dollars and get out. I believe that we have still a chance the next few months, maybe no more than a couple of years, to start to know each other, communicate with our neighbors, first of all, be better, nicer person to each other. Sometimes we don't need to agree on everything. Sometimes we don't even need to like each other. But we understand that all we have left is each other and God, if you believe in God. I believe in God, but that's another story. So after that, we may maybe have a sheriff, maybe, that is not for sure, but we have each other as a community. So now this is the time to not only be nicer to each other, but also to start to learn from each other. Because I tell you, when we have, like, for example, 200, 300 people down under the bridge without arms, without weapons, just standing together and just saying no to the feds and the BLM or whatever they were, I think probably Homeland Security, that we had a chance for a moment to win a little battle. Think about if we were thousands of us standing for each other, maybe with some training, and say, we don't want violence, but if you bring it on us, we are not slaves, and we will defend our rights, we will defend our properties. I have no problem with that. That's why I think it's important to start to train. What do you think about the state militia? Arizona has a very important chapter in our revised statute and also in the Constitution that we have the unorganized state militia, and this is not a bad word because this is also in our Constitution, Arizona Constitution. What do you think about that?
Well, what you just described, there's the epitome of the Constitution. United States Code Title 10, Chapter 13, Section 311 says that all able-bodied males between the ages of 17 and 45 are in the militia. And then if you go on and look at the Section 313 of Title 32, it says that all prior service, if you were in the military before, are in the militia until you're 63. It doesn't say that you can be. It says that you are.
Wow.
It doesn't say that you can't be in there if you're younger or older. It doesn't say you can't if you're a female. It just says that you are if you're a male between these ages. It says also that when it talks about there's only two in the United States Code, it says there are two classes of militia. The first organized militia, which they claim is the National Guard and the Naval Militia, and the unorganized militia, which consists of all members of the militia who are not members of the National Guard or Naval Militia. Now, there are 8 exemptions to that, and I don't remember them all off the top of my head, but there are postal workers, shipyard workers, the vice president, things like that are exempt by statute. But it does not exempt what do you call them, conscientious objectors. There are places for conscientious objectors. There are, food service, mechanics, communications, public relations. There's a lot of things where you're not actually in that position. Now, if you look at Arizona statute, it says that between the ages of 18 and 45, and Arizona says all able-bodied citizens. It doesn't distinguish male or female. It says all able-bodied citizens between the ages of 18 and 45. And there are 5 exemptions to that, and one of them is if you're exempt by certain laws, and if you've committed heinous crime, they're talking about felons. And believe it or not, the actual wording in there says idiots, lunatics, and totally blind persons. That's the way the statute's written.
Wow.
And ministers of the gospel. Those are the exemptions from Arizona. Now, do we want a state militia? Do we want the state to be in charge? I'm not sure, because we might
Cop, if I can interrupt
yes,
you
go
one
ahead.
second, sorry. We were talking about before, the unorganized mess that was the bandits when it came down to the militia. And I understand. This is different since the time of our founding fathers, where every town, every little village has the organized militia. That means there was a captain and there was all the organization. Now, there is a
Right.
pro and there is the don't. For example, you know very well, if you create an organization, all you have to do is take over the head like a snake, and the snake goes down. If there is instead a spontaneous grassroots movement of law-abiding citizens in every community, in every county, that doesn't need to be a county militia. It can be also a neighbor's militia. It can be also a
Sure.
family militia. That's, I think, our last hope we have, Yeah, sometimes I like to select people that I try to do things also for fun, I think if you can organize a group of 5, 6, even 10 people, no more than that, family, relatives, friends, long time. First of all, you're going to get along much better. You're choosing each other. Nobody's trying to play general. And more important, you know that nobody's going to infiltrate you or create a false flag like you see that could happen everywhere to create this element of Conto Intel Pro. So please do not disregard, listener, that now everything you can see the next few months or the next few weeks, this is not a conspiracy. They are declassified documents from the 60s. They were trying to pin down the civil rights movement to infiltrate it. The FBI admitted they created the Conto Intel Pro. So this is nothing new. Can happen again. Did it happen lately? I don't know. But it is on the record. So create a small militia, a small group of people that we believe in freedom, we believe in the sanctity of life, we believe that we are nobody's slave at the end, regardless which party affiliation. We have a constitution, a bill of rights, and we speak one language, even with some accent like mine. That's, I think, that's our strength that we have left. So, but we need training. We need training, because otherwise you have a lot of good heart, a lot of good intention, but what do? This is not just shooting at the paper that stays there and while you're smoking a cigar on the bench. I'm talking about
Right.
defending your life. That's why I really applaud schools like Shots Ranch and yourself, because you dedicate your life to try to share your information with others. Please, people, try to sacrifice a little bit of something. I understand now maybe economy stuff, but at least try, if you have no education, at least try to get one class going on. And by the way, you have a radio show. Please tell me about your radio show on the internet.
Yes, sir. We have a very politically incorrect, as you might suspect, radio show. It's an internet show. It's 5 nights a week from 8 to 10 Pacific time. With the first, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we talk about just what we're talking about right now, just current events, militia, a little bit of gun stuff thrown in here and there. And Thursday is all gun-related, whether it's training, militia, firearms information, ballistics, laws, whatever the case may be. And then Friday, we just stand down from all this and just go into, classic country music and stuff and just kind of relax and get ready for the weekend. You can find it online by going to www.justmeasurescs.com. Justmeasurescs.com.
And by the way, I put it on the page or lovegunsfreedom.com. I put also the link for your show so they can find you there too, okay?
Thank you, Luca. I appreciate that.
Perfect. And by the way, talking about interesting things, because I like it. The first time I heard about you, I know that you have you own a gun shop in the area of White Mountains area, eastern Arizona, and you have put a sign that was kind of politically incorrect, but I think that's the way.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the spirit. We still have freedom of speech. Let's use it. And more important, do we still have property rights? That's the way to find out. Tell me about exactly which sign and what type of experience did you have there? What did you do?
Luca, I came into work the morning after Obama was elected the second time, and I was literally sick to my stomach. I walked about 4 feet into my office, and he said, just a off-the-cuff deal, I said, I don't want those people in here. I don't want their money. I don't want them around my kids. I don't want anything to do with them. So I marched over to my computer and made the 11 by 17 sign, put on the door, and said, if you voted for Obama, please turn around and leave. You've already proven you're not responsible enough to own a firearm.
Wow.
And I put that up, and I was real proud of myself. And I walked back in, and I thought, you know what? These people ain't going to come here anyway. I want everybody to know. So I went and took out a newspaper ad.
Mm-hmm.
Said the same thing. And then I called AmmoLand and Guns.com and Gunwire and everybody else. And I sent this to everybody because I really didn't want them in there. I was ready to bring my business down because I didn't want them in there. Now, an unintended consequence of that was the fact that our business, was boomed for a little while this was going along. But it was, in Russian publications, in German and in Spain, and we got calls from Afghanistan and Canada and England and everywhere over this stupid sign.
Question: did you have any call from like the Department of Justice for racist discrimination or some other BS? Any type of?
We had one call from the AFL-CIO, I think it was. My wife took it.
Okay.
And I think that's who it was. And they asked about the sign, the wording of it, that they'd had some complaints over it, and then she read it to them, and she said, they said, I don't see anything racist about that. And they hung up. They said, it's fine.
It wasn't about black. It just said about political. It was about Obama. It wasn't about color.
I don't care if he was black. I don't care if he was green.
Exactly.
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's what he's doing.
Exactly. I agree. And you know what? Another thing very scary, Unfortunately, they're trying to push us now because I believe that we have also not just the First Amendment, of course, this is about, but also your property rights, your business rights, okay? I mean, at the end of the day, you are not my slave. I come here to ask for a service, and I'm willing to pay, but doesn't mean that you must accept. Unfortunately, right now, we already passed this stage for other reasons. The government trying to impose pretty much mandate that you must work no matter what as a serf to anybody who wants to come to your place, regardless that you agree or not. So I'm pretty surprised that you didn't have any type of attention from the federal government, because that would be, if there was another issues, like for example the gay marriage or other thing, that would be pretty much already there on big front pages, seriously. But
we received over 6,500, well, we quit counting at 6,500 phone calls and emails over this. None of them from government entities other than several people, quite a number of people that were retired and active duty military that called and applauded us for what we were doing. Probably maybe 2% of everything we got was negative. Some of them violently negative, very, very derogatory, and of course those ones never leave their names and addresses, emails, and anything. So, but very, very little. So that tells me if we look at surveys that they do all over the country, they typically survey 2,000, 2,500 people to find out what kind of diapers America likes.
Exactly.
So if that's the case, I have 6,500 documented. I still got them documented pieces of correspondence here that say that they were in agreement with what we did. So that survey tells me that America is not happy.
Exactly. And on top of it, that's your property right, that's your First Amendment right, and I applaud you for your courage, and thank you very much, really, for standing up, because that's the way we're going to take America back. We must not be afraid, we must not be intimidated, and we must exercise our rights every day of our life. There is no a special day. Every day, every moment can be your special day. And, this man, Cop Reynolds, he had his business, and he wanted to show that that's where his rights start. So, of course, at least you don't want to just wait for the special occasion. I think you can do the same in every part of your life. So I really applaud you. I want to give you the last 30 seconds for a final message before we go to the end of the show. Please, Cope. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Luca. We have not only handgun, we have rifle, shotgun, precision rifle, survival, preparedness. We have a lot of classes at Shots Ranch. You can contact me personally at cope@shotsranch.com is my email. And I'd like to leave everybody with a short quote before we leave by Mark Twain. It says, "In the beginning of a change, the patriot is a scarce and brave man, hated and scorned. When his cause succeeds, however, the timid join him, for then it costs nothing to be a patriot."
Amen.
Luca, I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. I will have you again. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Cope. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was Cop Reynolds. Mike, what do you think about that? That was a great interview. I like him.
I like that guy. I really do.
Okay, go with the sponsor, Mike.
Okay, Colorado River Vapor, 2 locations, 4400 Highway 95, Fort Mojave, 1931 Highway 95, Bullhead City. Hundreds of flavors of juices. Catch the wave and vape. If you want to quit smoking, go see Tom and Karen, both stores. Beautiful stores. music in the Fort Mojave store. Come and bring your guitar, play. They got karaoke, they got juice bars, they got it all.
And they got a lot of fun. Right. Thank you very much, guys. You've been listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna and Mike Haywood on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. By the way, I want to let you know that if you go to today's website, today's webpage, today's shows, lovegunsfreedom.com, go to the June 15. There is also a section I will start to put at the end where you can find the best deals in ammunition. Because ammunition, they're very important, they're pricey. So I'll do this as my good love. I don't get paid. I just find the cheapest prices on the internet with links directly to the website. Check it out. Stay tuned and talk to you next Sunday.
Happy
Bye-bye.
Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.